The NDP touts him as one of its star candidates. Michael Byers, a renowned expert in international law and politics. He's called upon regularly for his analysis and ideas. He was today as well in his Vancouver riding, and that's when things went off course. Our chief political correspondent, Keith Bogue, has the story. Keith.
Peter, what drew the NDP's Michael Byers off message was a question that ranks as possibly the softest softball of all time. We'd strayed far from the leaders' tours to check out the very competitive race going on in Vancouver Centre. At the University of British Columbia, we found all the local candidates debating in front of a journalism class.
We're going to ask you each to do a 5-minute introduction.
Liberal Hetty Fry has been in Parliament for 15 years. Her challengers are a former provincial Liberal MLA turned federal Conservative, Lorne Mayencourt, the Green Party's high-profile Deputy Leader, Adrian Carr, and the NDP's Michael Byers, a nationally known university professor.
We have time for one more question.
The question that hooked Byers was this. If you could be any kind of animal, what kind of animal would you be? A lion, said Fry. A golden Labrador, said Mayencourt. A wild salmon, said Carr. A polar bear, said Byers. But he didn't stop there. He went on to talk about how the polar bear is threatened by climate change, and then he said this.
We need to go after the big polluters. We need to shut the tar sands down.
Later, Byers explained what he really meant was that just removing subsidies to the oil industry would lead to that.
I believe that the tar sands would phase themselves out if we actually reduce the massive government subventions of those processes. Okay? I'm not suggesting that we would actually have to go and padlock the plant.
Who here thinks...
In their wrap-up, the students were asked to decide what the biggest story in the debate was.
I think the Byers Bomb was the big thing.
The Byers Bomb.
He said, shut the tar sands down, and this is a radical departure from both his party's line, which is a moratorium on no new approvals in the tar sands, and it's a departure from even the Green Party's platform. It's a much more radical stance.
And that's why our party has said no more approvals to tar sands projects until we know how the environment can be handled.
The NDP position is that it would cut off subsidies to the oil and gas industry and halt further expansion in the oil sands. Jack Layton says that must have been what Byers meant.
He may have been speaking metaphorically. I'm not sure. I haven't discussed it with him. This is the first I'm hearing about it.
But his competition has already pounced.
So it's a foolish declaration. What we need to do is sustainable development.
Byers did not misspeak himself. In fact, he says he's made the same point about the oil sands many times in the past. He even wrote a newspaper commentary about it. The only difference, now he's a political candidate. Peter?
All right, Keith. Thank you. Keith Bogue in Vancouver.